Yes, we are live now. How are you? Welcome to our panelists. Would you like to test your cam? We're going on just in a few seconds. Alex
Hello.
and Ahmad, if you would like to test your cam. Hello, Alex.
Hello.
Jan, Martin, Ahmad, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
Hello.
Okay, so we're gonna start. Thank you for joining. I'm gonna start with my quick introduction. So, good evening and welcome everyone to our webinar, Latest Trends in Patient Centricity. Allow me first to introduce myself. I am Jessie Tanous, Business Development Director at Clin Group, and I'll be moderating our webinar today. Did you have the chance to work with Clin Group before or to have a look on the services of Clin Group? Let me show you just in a few slides and very quickly our services. I'm gonna share my screen. So I'm sharing my screen to present quickly Clin Group services. This is a Clin Group since 2002 as a first and only philanthropic foundation, owned corporate French creation with 2 decades of comprehensive health solution provider expertise. Would like to inform you that we are very proud member of Africa Link, Eurobiomed, Medicine, French Healthcare, France Biotech, Atlampol Biotherapy, International Trade Council. We cover many countries in Clin Group. We offer our services in many countries through our own offices in the red zones, France, Lebanon, Egypt, Dubai. Added very soon, Turkey. Group, we offer our services in many countries. We cover many other countries, mostly in Middle East and Africa, but also some countries in Europe through joint ventures and through our alliance or network of CROs. We have 3 main divisions at Clin Group: the pre-marketing, post-marketing, and the digital or system automation division. Let's have a look quickly on the services that we can offer through each division. In the pre-marketing division, we're able to provide clinical trials project management and monitoring from feasibility to closeout, clinical trials material logistics management, clinical trial and digital solutions, decentralized clinical trials, pharmacovigilance in clinical trials, data management, statistics, manuscript and submissions, medical writing. While in the post-marketing division, also we are able to offer many services like phase 4 or investigator-initiated studies, patient support program and mobile nursing, market access, health economic and outcome research, pharmacovigilance, materiovigilance and nutrivigilance, healthcare staffing, accredited training and continuous education with conference management, clinical research unit setup, ISO consultancy and GXP audits, standardization and SOPs writing, advisory boards. And finally, within our 3rd division and within this era of digital solutions, we offer many digital solutions for our services, like patient support program. For vigilance, we have a platform. For hospitals, we have a hospital information system, telemedicine and consultation with web booking, e-conference platform to manage your conferences, seminars, webinars, e-learning management system, digital solution for clinical trials, and an environmental management system to monitor the temperature and the humidity. Finally, the e-data survey as well. Thank you so much for listening to our quick presentation of Clin Group services. And now, I would like to tell you that in today's webinar, we'll be tackling the latest trends in patient centricity. We are glad to have with us our panelists that will be reflecting those trends. Welcome, Liliane Stone, Associate Director, Startup at Firma. Welcome, Alex Branchard, Senior Director, Service Area Head, Pharmalex. Stéphane Gutin, CEO, Music Care and Martin. Ahmad Hosseini, Chief Medical Officer, Clin Group. And finally, our attendees, for all your questions, please feel free to type in the Q&A box, and I'll be selecting some questions to ask our panelists at the end of the webinar. Thank you and welcome again, everyone. Let's start with Ahmad, who will be tackling the patient support program topic. Thank you and welcome, Ahmad.
Thank you, Jessie. Thank you, everyone. I'm happy to be here within this webinar. I'm sharing my screen with you. Whenever you're seeing my screen, please notify me.
Yes, we can see your screen, Ahmad.
Okay. So my topic within this webinar is patient support programs. And I would like to start by the agenda. It's what we are going to cover and the disclaimer. It's copyright disclaimer. I'm abiding by the 107 Copyright Act, which was in the US and even in the UE, to permit the fair use of what I'm using from other published data publicly available. Okay. So to start with, this is very interesting and important to put in mind and encarve it for every one of us. God forbid that we stay healthy, but nevertheless, this is the fact. And Andrew Schuller put it in a nice way that there's no one who ever went to school to be a patient. And certainly, all of a sudden you have a knock on the door and then someone, he or she, is certified as a patient, and the whole thing is another planet. No matter he's educated, non-educated, no matter he's in the rural areas or in a dweller of a city, it's the same for the phases that he might pass or the emotions or the things that he has or she has to deal with. So this is very important, that changing the human, it's too much of words to be describing this, but it's all of a sudden, it's changing the whole life of a certain person. So to pinpoint on the patient what he needs at the beginning, we started during the health systems around the world by prescribing medications. Then the patient over time was monitored, and we have an issue that 50% of the patient don't take their medication as prescribed, and this is becoming more and more obvious as with time passes, aging populations, and this is a kind of a reflection. It's very simple in the chronic medications. Now, coming into more complex, like in the oncology and other immune disease, it could be more even complicated than this. Nevertheless, there is a growing concern of the prevalence associated with adverse clinical outcomes, and definitely the cost is shooting high in the sky. And it is estimated worldwide with, even they don't say tens of billions, some estimations they may say hundreds of billions of dollars wasted because of the issue of non-adherence. So what is the driving into this? Why do patients fail to adhere? If we're going to look at it, it's a multifactorial thing. Number one, it's related to the patients. No matter is the percentage, but this is the one leg of the table, that patients' suboptimal health literacy and lack of involvement in the treatment decision process. The second is the physician prescribing complex of drugs, regimens, without investigating the digestion of the information for the patient or the caregiver at the patient side, or even in the communication barrier, etc. So this is multifactorial at the physician side, even complicating the picture, the healthcare system itself, the office visits, limited access to care, and lack of health information technology, the information, whether it's available as solid or soft, or the channels of communicating the society as a whole. So there is a multifactorial thing into the adherence issue. The medication adherence is complex and varied. So to improve adherence must be tackled in a multifactorial environment. So looking into the holistic picture at the beginning of this, the system, the healthcare system, historically is a linear system. What do I mean by this? So you look into the graph, the primary involved stakeholders, whether it's the provider, the pharma, the manufacturer of the drug or the medicine, the regulator, or the legislation process, the healthcare community, physician, therapist, or nurse, and the clinics and the hospital. So they come in a linear to deal with the patient. And then on the other side, with the less impact, the patient, the payer, the family, and the patient organizations. This was till recent, and we may find this true and very true in many disciplines within the medicine, still being present due to many reasons. Nevertheless, each and every one, if we look into their interaction with the patient, they should have some kind of level of involvement in the care and support of that she or he, the patient. So if we look into the adherence in this model, the adherence and the programs that was established to support the problem of adherence cloned from other industries into the healthcare, it didn't work well. The understanding of the patient environment was primitive, and thus wasn't considered. The financial support that was built around the assistance in the early programs, it's not that much of important or prioritized by the patients in some surveys. And traditionally, the health system weren't supportive, what we call beyond the pill. And this is the game changer, the new nomination, or the current at least. Why we say beyond the pill? Because the predominance of evidence suggested positive impact when you put a patient support that is tailored. We will see in the next slides what do I mean by tailored. So it tackles the adherence, the clinical, holistic outcome, although less often measured healthcare utilization. There is a huge, many studies nowadays proven that it is the use of the healthcare facility, the use of other, let's say, adjuvant medication, monopharmacy versus polypharmacy. These are things to be considered when dealing with the new environment that created within a good patient support program. So in terms of the current patient support programs, or what we call beyond the pill, these are services that package along the side of the patient a clinical profile. It could be a drug, medical device that is given to the treatment, so as a treatment to the patient. The goal is to provide a value-added health services. They come with many names according to the service or the stage of the intervention, etc. But nevertheless, it is the goal to improve the adherence and achieve better outcomes, quality of care, or for win-win for everybody. So what we're doing here is basically we're putting the patient in the center. So shifting the patient from outside of the linear historical care into the inside holistic approach. So we will end with this. This is the current model. So everybody is around the patient and there is a flow of communication, or at least it should have the flow. The owner of the PSP should have all of this monitored and measured so that the end result of cure or avert or provide better care should be at hand. So this is very important to consider. Now comes into the mind what was the driving really to change and articulate everybody into the circle of the patient in the center was the new introduction, what we call the specialty medication, because of the nature of complexity and the use of these medical preparations. They are needs more attention in case in the immunology, on oncology, rare diseases. So they need the patient to be educated, the caregiver. Even the healthcare professionals needs to deal with more complex, like the sequencing, the viral sequencing, or the new diagnostics, new imaging, new monitoring. Everybody needs to be have the knowledge, the state of the art, and updated their knowledge, their practices, and reflect that into the care of the patient. Even the patient, he or she needs more time to read and acquire new skills to deal with his daily activities, daily chores within the disease management, or to fit his case within the environment he deals with. And this is for everybody. So this is a driving force, and it shifted everyone into the action. And although this is tragic and we're speaking about the diseases, nevertheless, it is good that everybody came into the understanding that each and every role is important. So with this involvement from transition-based assistant to holistic program, now the PSPs could cover many services, but they could be articulated into umbrella of 4 segments: financial assistance program, technology-enabled engagement, education and counseling services, clinical support, and interventions. So it is articulated. It is engineering in medicine and patient care. Now, the question would be the position of PSP units in healthcare sector, because this wasn't really deep. If you look into, like, for instance, the new introduction of any new discipline in medicine or the disease management, it should have a place. Where do it fit? So the number one, we see that at the hospital level or institutional level, there are many examples can be given. This is one I'm taking here from Taiwan, and we see the patient support group. And I know, we all know that in many institutions around the world, there have been improvement as a patient care unit or patient care coordinator at department level and the hospital or institution level. So this is important, and it involves everyone who is entitled to deal directly or indirectly with the patient care. This is a huge effort being done worldwide without sometimes the patient notice, or the family might not notice this. On the other hand, the pharma, with the increased complexity and the services, the PSPs or whatever patient assistant patient program they have, it shifted into a very specific functions. And you see here, this is a Helio Health Group survey and it is recent, almost 2018, and it shows in the pharma where do the patient services team located, and it is either a satellite by itself, or it is in the market access, medical affairs, or specifically it is designated other place. Nevertheless, this is the new picture, because at the very beginning, the pharma who initiated or were having patient support programs, they were in-house. They hired nurses, etc. But with time, they realized that it can't be done, and the regulations here in the other issues of compliance, etc. So it spinned out into the CROs, and this is the CRO role, but with the coordination of the sponsor, the patient services, the dedicated group, or the market access, medical affair, whatever denomination is within the pharma. But the service itself or the contact with the patient is being done by the CROs and in compliance with the global and local. And we can see and witness day by day the more and more requirements, like for instance, the data protection, the management of the patient files and their security and safety, etc. So this is a huge work being done. So this is the current situation. Now, if this is working well, so what can be done better? Number one, this is the pitfall of the patient support programs. There should be no standardization. The nomination of one size fits all doesn't work. So because we have it should be tailored to disease. It's a unique patient journey, male, female, within the therapeutic area, within the same disease, with the age group, the environment. There is a lot of facts and variables to consider when building the patient support. So it is better going specific, articulating the services to be provided around the targeted patient group, and this would lead into better chance of engaging the patient at the start, adherence, and for long term. Especially we're talking in some therapeutic areas, they need to deal this with their disease, with their medication, with their program for a long, maybe it's a lifelong adherence. So you need to make sure that you listen, learn, build, test, and modify as you go. There is nothing standard. You should be having this kind of elasticity within the compliance and issues that will permit you to modify along the way or along the journey that you're supporting your patient community. This is being more and more feasible, and we need to look into the future. Why? I'm showing you here, this is almost a recent patient survey, and you can see here that we need to do something, because what the pharma, the healthcare community, or the CRO suggestion might see as a priority for the patient, it might change or might not hit at the same level of priority with the patient. So the matching here is very important. So this is a kind of a reflection for a recent study, and we can see that most of the patients might first diagnose when starting, they might have no idea about PSP. They just have a glimpse at the beginning when they were diagnosed, and there is no follow-up. So knowledge is another factor. Even eligibility, they might be eligible but not reaching the full potential, only few eligible being captured. E-learning is another issue that we need to master and have more channels into this. The benefit, this is a gray area. If the patient is not having that feeling of engagement, what's in it for me, that is really a huge gap. And 61 is not a 5% or 2%, although it's even in 1%, it's important. So we need to go and visit what we have done, what we could do better. So for there is no, number one, you need to have this no one size fits all. This is number one, to determine which service are most valued by patient. This is very important because the patients had to say that this is the most important to me, as we show in the previous slide. So to uncover their priorities, and then you articulate the solution around this. So in another reflection, this was presented in I4 Philadelphia 2018 survey, that it shows that it's really a consistent showing that the first nomination of patient assistance of financial support, it turned out it is not that much evaluated as rank 1, rather as in the 8th place. And this is another example. So we need to have peer-to-peer mentor programs, more IT technology into management of the disease, online health communities. So patients needs more, as if they are saying, please communicate with us more in our language, in our channels. So this is very important to consider for the future programs. Now, what we do at Kling Group, we take this into a tailored case-by-case level. This is our strategy. Engineering. So we take engineering and micro-engineering in this way, every program to fit exact partner's need, from the patient and the sponsor and compliant. So this is a two-way which each stakeholder flow smooth and communication transparent, right to the point to come into a mutual understanding. So the formation is important. The team that you gather for a project, it should be multi-skilled, multidisciplined in many disciplines, nurses, healthcare professionals as MDs. You might see that the lab is involved, or the radiology, whatever is there as you map the journey of the patient. Communication is very important, and mapping. Then you build in development pillars. At every stage, there is the circle. Plan, do, review, and do it again at every and single stage. Nevertheless, you need to have a global picture, holistic, or compliance, etc. But nevertheless, don't forget the very little environment for your targeted patient, even at local level. For those that you're having within the city or the city suburbs or the rural areas, try to control, and to understand and build the things that enhances your communication and dialogue with the patients. I'm concluding with this. I think my time is out. So the past PSPs, I would say the title was to assist. So they were mono approach, in-house PSPs, low regulations, low engagement. Then at the current, we're fading out. If we look at the current, according to the service provider, the inpatient is in. We have a holistic approach, CRO, PSP outside the house, high regulation, patient centering, but it is not enough. And this is obvious as we go to the future. We need patient to become first, empowerment, to tailor the approach as much as you can. The tech solution is to be added and channeled and more, and making environment services within. Nevertheless, in this context, there is a huge improvement even for the safety reporting and the compliance issues. These are the things that I need to remind myself, and I encourage you to take these into consideration, and I thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ahmad, for the session, for this informative session. Thank you for sharing such slides and those information. Allow me now to welcome Lilian Stone, Associate Director at Firma. Lilian will be tackling with us today the mobile nursing or the home nursing topic. Welcome, Lilian.
Thank you. Can you confirm you can see my screen well?
Yes, Lilian, we can see your screen.
Awesome. Thank you. So hello, everyone. It is truly a pleasure to be here today and have the opportunity to share the insights of home health services supporting clinical trials with patient centricity in mind. I'm Lillian Stone. I'm the Associate Director in Studies Startup at Firma Clinical Research. For those of you that are not familiar with Firma is a niche provider in the industry that is enabling patient-centric approach and providing decentralized trial by helping bring the clinical trials to patients. Today, my presentation will focus on how we approach patient centricity, the benefits to patients and sites using home health services or home health visits. I will also share a couple of study examples where home health visits supporting clinical trials were designed with the patient in mind. And I will also share with you a recent survey that we conducted, our patient expressing their knowledge and the benefits that they found on using home health services. First, I want to discuss what is most important, the patient. Patient centricity has been a buzzword for a number of years. However, there are few companies that are really adopting the holistic patient-centric approach as their model in clinical trials. Some are enabling patient-centric approach on specific protocols. However, it is typically done via the innovation groups or labeled as special projects. Well, the COVID-19 pandemic has fundamentally changed how we operate, bringing the patient into more forefront, even more. We used to hear the phrase, it's all about the data, when of course the data is utmost important, but perhaps our mantra should also include, it's all about the patient. Because when you focus on patient experience, we automatically are driven towards a collection of quality of data with a better protocol design and process in place. So starting with the patient first in mind help us recruit patients, retain patients, and overall ease the burden for patients to participate in clinical trials. Whether the visits are done at home or in the office, offering home study visits eliminates significant hurdles to patients, recruitment, enrollment, retention, and again benefits all stakeholders. Imagine the ability to enroll patients on a study because the burden is split between sites and patients. Between sites and home healthcare visits. Imagine the study that we can reach a more diverse population or underrepresented communities, patients that are far from sites or patients that don't have any means of transportation. We could reach those underrepresented patient population that perhaps were not represented before and increase diversity in clinical trial as home health services can better serve those with a mobility issue or in a fragile state. As you probably know, not every study protocol is a perfect fit for home health visit. However, there are ways to build protocols to maximize the use of home visits. We still can do MRI at home, for example, but there is so much more that we can do at home. There are a number of assessments that can be done, such as biologic sample collections, vital sign collection, IP administration, to name a few. There are numerous protocols where, if designed properly, home visits can replace a large number of site visits, and utilizing the opportunity to perform these items at home, it is truly patient-centric approach. I have a couple of examples of our recent studies where home health services was used. And so, for example, we know COVID-19 has ended the clinical trial arena, upended the clinical trial arena. For an industry that has been slow to change, the pandemic has forced our colleagues to look at alternative ways to conduct our trials. Because of this, home health visits as an extension to the site has grown in its popularity. First, what does in-home visit look like? So to provide you a little background, I have a very simple example what home health services could look like on a study. And this example shows the breadth, depending on the protocol, of course, how impactful bringing the trial to the patient can be. As you see here, this is a very simple example. This is a high touch, lots of visits for the patient, but not high volume of procedures at the visit. Just study drug administration, urinalysis, blood draw and processing, and checking on changes in health and medication. We have multitude of protocols that are very similar to this across the industry and therapeutical areas. So bringing the trial to the patient can be very impactful as to the patient life on a multi-year study such as this one. Okay, I have a second example study where we have a little bit more complicated study where we have a global study that is being conducted in North America, Australia, New Zealand, Poland, Denmark, and they have weekly visits that are occurring at home. This is an open label extension where the patient could roll into a long-term study. This was a bit more complicated than the simple blood draw that I went over earlier. Therefore, we had to obtain the nurses that had specific infusion experience and were able to perform this type of visit. Now, many times the visit itself, it's not the most complicated part of it. It's the logistics that surround the visit, such as shipment of IP, shipping of lab supplies, shipping of equipment such as portable ECG machines, portable centrifuges, setting up telehealth and ePros review, and perhaps requirements for shipping shipments such as dry ice. Well, in this case, the drug only had 11 hours post reconstitution to be infused. So we had to work with the local pharmacies to make sure that we can have the drug reconstituted and in time just before the nurse's visit. While not all studies are as complicated as this one, as an industry, we need to start thinking bigger and bolder, or at least in a more creative manner to be able to execute our studies. Keeping, of course, various country regulations in mind, and the COVID pandemic has enabled us to do so. We have recently conducted a patient survey for one of our largest studies, and here are the sample responses from our patients. I would like to start where I began, speaking about the patients. Patient survey can also be a very important tool for us to understand the impact of those home visits. I just took a sample of questions from a survey that we distributed after in-home visits. So we asked our patient if this was their first time using our services, and 99% of the patient responded it was their first time. And we asked them as far as the timely arrival of the home trial provider or the nurse to the visit. We can see that 92% those visits were on time as planned. And we asked our patient how convenient they found using home health services. And we see that 17 plus 71% found either excellent or above average as far as the convenience of using home health services. And then we had several options for the patient to describe the experience in their home health visits. The majority went with high quality, convenient, and reliable. So as we can see, this is a very, very important aspect of, again, having the convenience of having a home visit. And then also part of our survey, it was a very important question that we asked our patients was a home health visit made easier for them to decide whether they will participate in the clinical trial or not. And a big majority, 63% of our patients responded that they were inclined to decide if they would participate if home health services was available. So we see there is interest from the patients to have that options. And then we had just like a summary, overall satisfaction or dissatisfaction from our patient. As you can see, at 100%, every patient that for that study that was surveyed, they expressed that they were 100% satisfied with home health services. And then we also ask for some feedback from the patient. The hope is that the strategies such as in-home visit will continue, or well after the pandemic, where the visits can be part of the protocol and schedule of assessments from inception. And based on the patient's feedback, it would truly be welcome. I do think that with pandemic changing how the general population receives healthcare, such as telemedicine, and clinical trials are being more day-to-day available, we expect that this is going to be more of a new model going forward of having the options for patients to do remote visits or home health services. So as you can see, the patients express their feedback as the services were phenomenal. Everything was perfect, comfortable, and above all very good communication, meaning communication with our providers. The provider was very kind, friendly, and pleasant, and professional. Provider was very nice, and everything was very fast. Delighted with the treatment, convenient and efficient. And then it was very beneficial and reduced impact on my time. And this goes back with what Ahmad mentioned earlier, what's in it for me. So we see this, we see the convenience, the efficiency, the patients expressing that benefit for them. So finally, we also want to focus on decentralized trials. Why is this the new norm and model that we should use moving forward now and the future? Having a decentralized trial also brings the patient centricity into action. Again, like I mentioned, there is better patient recruitment and retention, enables patients to comply with study procedures, contributes with continuing care, and there is less data missing, less out of visit windows, and maximizes the protocol compliance. It was also very interesting analysis that was published recently where the return to prior to COVID enrollment rates and discontinuation rates within 2 to 4 months of the global lockdown in February, March 2020, and the traditionally designed studies were not able to return to the pre-COVID enrollment rates and their discontinuation rates continue to increase. So we are seeing that continuing to offer patients options for decentralized trials for home visits, it benefits both the patients and the sites. Adding home health for ongoing study can be done and has been done quite frequently during the pandemic. What we want to shift to is to develop protocols that are designed around the patient. So if a hybrid approach, meaning a patient comes to the site and has procedures at home, we want to see the protocols designed for maximum in-home visit. This might also mean shifting some of the schedule assessments or events items from visit 4 to visit 1, let's say, and visit 2 to visit 10 possibly can be all done at home. So designing the protocol with patient in mind from very conception ensures the most satisfactory experience for patient. And with that will come the benefits to the study as I previously discussed. And that concludes my presentation, and I really look forward to your questions at the end of the session. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Lilian, for this outstanding presentation. Thank you for your time and for joining today. Allow me now to introduce Alex Branchard from PharmaLex, Senior Director, Service Area Head. Hello, Alex. How are you? Alex will be tackling pharmacovigilance and patient support program. We're excited to hear about this topic, Alex. Thank you. You are on mute.
Thanks, Jessie. Thanks for this presentation. I'm sharing the presentation. I hope you can see all. As Jessie said, I'm going to be focused on pharmacovigilance in patient support programs. In this case, so see.
We can see your screen.
Okay. Okay, now in this topic, I would like to introduce a little bit about pharmacovigilance in patient support programs, being a little bit focused also on what is the PV relevant information that needs to be collected in patient support programs, some of the key elements of pharmacovigilance in patient support programs, what are the stakeholders in a patient support programs related to pharmacovigilance that are relevant for the responsibilities that we may take into account in a patient support program. And finally, I would like to give some information relevant for PV audits and inspections around patient support programs. So first of all, as has been explained already, a patient support program is one of the non-interventional organized data collection schemes. So this is classified as one non-interventional organized data collection scheme, as there are others that has specificities, as other colleagues here in this session explained the details before. Around pharmacovigilance, in the Good Pharmacovigilance Module 6, this is described as an organized system where a market authorization holder receives and collects information related to the use of the medicinal products. So some examples, they have been described already before. You may need patient support programs for a post-authorization patient support and disease management program, performing surveys of patients and healthcare professionals, gathering information on patient compliance, understanding a little bit more about compensations and reimbursement schemes, and so on. So the purpose is to support patient care, which is typically done by supplementing and reinforcing care and guidance provided by the patients and healthcare professionals, or by providing or arranging financial assistance for patients, like reimbursements, support, or product discounts. What is important in patient support programs is that those involve direct interaction with patients and healthcare professionals. The purpose of a patient support program is not to generate safety information or even efficacy information. So the source of the data that we have in a patient support program is a primary data from those patients, and it's solicited. The case is that the information that we receive, the safety related information that we receive, is solicited, and this information is key, as you will see in the next slides, to see how we need to handle pharmacovigilance in such programs. So the patient support programs are referenced and describe and link to the good pharmacovigilance practice at the VPA level, like the GVP Model 2, that describe that those patient support programs needs to be described in the pharmacovigilance master file. There is an activity that needs to be performed around these patient support programs as described in Module 6 around collection, management, and submission of reports of suspect adverse reactions to medicinal products. And last but not least, in the Module 7, you need to document the patient support programs in the periodic safety update report, the PSURs and PBERs, describing whatever PV relevant information has been found in those programs. So as a general rule, all adverse events needs to be reported, right? In this case, originated from the patient support programs, those should be collected and processed as solicited case report. As it's described in the Module 6, a solicited report of suspect adverse reactions are those like the ones derived from a patient support program, from such organized data collection scheme. Yeah? So all solicited reports should be classified and processed as study reports, including causality assessment. This is very important to include the causality assessment on those adverse events coming from patient support programs. Last but not least, this comment around the difference between ICSRs generated from other sources. For example, ICSRs collected within a PSP, but which are not related to the product in the scope of the PSP, or with the patient enrolled in the PSP, should be considered spontaneous and processed, submitted accordingly. This is one information key to understand and to see and to know how to manage such adverse events coming from patient support programs. It needs to be handled in a different way when you receive spontaneous cases from other sources. In regards to pharmacovigilance, it's very important to have clear description and information about the PSP. So here, for example, you may have an electronic tool system that you include information relevant from those programs, like the program code, the name of the program, short description of the program, the products includes, estimate number of patients to be enrolled, what is the first patient in, the last patient out, if there are service provider involved or on staff, if there is any PV agreement in place, what is the last PV training performed, and any additional comments and information that is relevant for pharmacovigilance. In case PSPs involve service providers, you need to have a template pharmacovigilance agreement that you need to prepare and agree with those vendors in order to ensure that the PV processes are well established and well defined. You need to prepare training materials to ensure that all stakeholders are properly trained, to ensure that the PV is well managed in those programs. And you need to have also a reconciliation process to ensure that you collect properly and periodically the relevant information for pharmacovigilance. What about the stakeholders? We have the program owner who needs to perform the design and the protocol of the PSP, is involved in vendor selection, in the agreements with those vendors involved, is also engaged in the inventory setup, and is important that program owner engage and notify a PSP with pharmacovigilance departments and also with QA/PV departments. In global PV, there are three roles or three teams that needs to be engaged with patient support programs. One is the European QPPP. The European QPPP needs to have the right oversight of all patient support programs via the pharmacovigilance master file. In regards to case processing, as we discussed before, you need to process and collect and report cases from patient support programs. So you need to set up a process to manage those cases received from those programs. And the medical safety team. The medical safety team is engaged, is responsible to review and approve the patient support program setup with the input of the QPPP is needed. Then the local QPPB, patient support programs are performed at the local level, the country level, so you need to involve local teams in regards to collection and management of cases received from those programs, but not also this, but also to forward that information to the global safety team in order to collect that information in the safety database. And in case it's needed to perform any follow-up with the patient, with the healthcare professional, the local team is usually engaged to gather more information if needed in regards to safety. And then the QA pharmacovigilance team, who is responsible to ensure that the vendors, service providers involved in the patient support programs are properly qualified, and they include these service providers in the PV audit risk assessment. Here you have a list of the key responsibilities in a patient support program, starting from the local QPPB, the local person responsible for pharmacovigilance. They need to ensure that the training is performed and provided to the program owners, so all stakeholders needs to understand what are the PV requirements to ensure that they understand that there is a need to report cases, there is a need to inform about any adverse event, and that they know the process and to whom to contact and how to report any adverse event information. Second, awareness. The program owner needs to inform all stakeholders, including PV. So it's important that all the stakeholders involved in patient support programs from different departments are aware that there is this program in place, which involves also safety relevant information. Then the LPPB and the medical safety team, they are responsible to determine and agree and confirm the program safety, the PSP, patient support program, including all PV relevant information that needs to be collected. As we said before, the PVA, the pharmacovigilance agreements, needs to be in place in case there are service providers and vendors, including all information relevant around collection, adverse events, and ideally uploading this in the PSP inventory. In regards to vendor PV training, the vendors needs to be trained and needs to be performed definitely before the start of the PSP, but there is also the need of a PV refreshment every 12 months for all vendor staff involved in the PSP. The program owner and the LPPB, they're responsible for the program inventory to ensure that the tool and systems include all relevant information and that generate and includes the serial number related to the PSP. Regarding case processing, as we discussed before, it's important that we have a clear process and is responsible at the local level to ensure that there is one team, including business continuity, with the right backup resources needed to collect, manage, perform follow-ups in the right time, following the format needed to forward all information to the market national holder to include any adverse event in the global safety database. Around reconciliations, it's important to perform on a monthly basis and at the end of the program, a monthly reconciliation of safety data relevant information to ensure that we are not missing anything and all information we have in the database is the same that we collect at the local level. Around PV compliance monitoring, the LPPB and the vendors, they are performing monthly ICSRs compliance regarding timelines and type of information reported. And also, I will explain more details later on, but around PV audits, it's very important that the vendor is included also in the risk assessment plan for PV audits to ensure that they are properly qualified. And the QPPB needs to have the right oversight of all activities. So through the PSMF, in Annex B, they need to list the service provider involved in PSPs, and Annex B, they need to list all non-interventional studies and programs. How to prepare for a PV audit or a national health authority inspection. So you need to have in place this PSP inventory, as we discussed before, showing all the inputs and outputs of this PSP inventory, including all annexes of the PSMF. if you work with a service provider, you need to have available the training materials used to train the staff assigned to work on the PSP. You need to have all training certificate records with the signatures of all trainings conducted, including the date of the training. And in case you use a service provider, you need the PV agreement in place and properly signed and agreed. All data reconciliations performed on a monthly basis and at the end of the programs needs to be available for the inspection. That's it. Thanks a lot. I'm very happy and willing to see your questions at the end of the session. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Alex, for this inspiring presentation, and thank you for joining today. So passing now to the last topic, treating by music or music care. Let me welcome Stefan and Martin from Music Care. Hello, Martin and Stefan.
Yes, hi.
Hi, how are you?
Hello.
Yes, very good. I'm in Miami and Martin is in France.
We're excited to hear about your topic. So the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jesse. Please, Stefan, you can introduce yourself and then I will follow up.
Yes, thank you, Marta. So firstly, thank you very much, Nadia, Jesse, and Hamad for this invitation to present our work. So I'm a PhD in psychology, clinical psychology, and music therapist. And all our work since 20 years was to introduce music in the care of the patient. So we produce a lot of research. So that was very interesting to hear you all about all those clinical studies. And in France, we are proud to be the first to publish controlled randomized study to assess the power of music in pain and anxiety and sleep disorders. So today we are more than 150 publications, and the last was in the JAMA. So we're very proud also to publish in this kind of scientific journals. And today we have partnerships also with big pharma who introduce music care complementary to the painkiller. So this is the main objective of music care, to introduce, yes, music in the care of the patient. So maybe I let Martin make the presentation and introduce our solution in pain treatment. Can you share your screen, Martin? Yes.
We can see your screen. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
You are on mute, Martin.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you and we can see your screen.
All right, very good. So firstly, thank you very much for this very interesting presentation. Thanks to all of you on behalf of Clean Group. I think patient centricity is a passionate topic, and I would like to present our work. Musicare is defined as the first digital therapy validated by plus 150 scientific studies in the treatment of pain and anxiety and sleep disorders. And I really liked what you mentioned, Hamad, about the emotional dimension of what can happen in the patient journeys, because we have all been patients, and that is why, before just introducing what we do at Musicare, I just would like for you to do a short visualization exercise by thinking of a positive experience that you have had as a consumer or as a patient. For example, I don't know, I can share with you some very personal moments when my wife was pregnant and she had our first babies. I think that the people working in the maternity were very welcoming, and I really felt grateful about that. And this was part of our patient experience, because it was like a kind of part of the journeys. And if we now move on negative experience that we have had as consumers or as patients. I can share with you another example. We had a complicated journey when with some difficulty to diagnose some bones which were broken, and it was really complicated to find the right healthcare professional to diagnose what was having after a break of a bone for my wife again, and it has been a quite complicated journey. So I think, why am I talking about this? Because what we would like to tackle together today with this webinar is really how can we improve patient pathways in their healthcare journeys. There are lots of moments in healthcare journey which can be really painful or really complicated in terms of anxiety. For example, just before a person is going to receive an injection of treatment for the cancer. This is the first example. It can be other moments which are really complicated when there is an urgency to treat before getting in the intervention room, when there are surgeons who are going to operate with local anesthesia. It's a really complicated moment with full anxiety and pain. And it's really about our reason to be music care. We would like to democratize care through music to fight against pain, stress, and anxiety. And it is really about this patient centricity approach, about understanding in the pathway of patients which are the moments which are really complicated in their journeys, and how can we improve those moments. And it's not only about reducing anxiety. You will see that it's also about treating pain with a really scientific approach with evidence-based medicine. So there is more than 500 million people around the world suffering with chronic pain. So it's a really big topic. And today, these people have diagnosed error diagnostic. There are risks of over-medication. There is an opioid crisis in the US right now, with the over-medication of treatments and opioids. So what we would like to do is really to understand how can we improve the efficacy of some medicines by joining them with music, validated music, and also just improving the patient pathways. So concretely, it's really about providing a music solution, which is a medical device, which can be put on tablets, on smartphones, or on TVs. And basically, we talk about personalized medicine, participative medicine as well, because the patient can choose with a healthcare professional his own music preference. There are more than 40 different musics, and this has been composed by real music composer. So the core of what we've developed is about creation of an algorithm which are going to synchronize the body parameters with the parameters of the sound. And there will be this U sequence that you can see on the screen, which will put the patient into a state of hypnoanalgesia. So it's really about stimulating with the endorphins, oxytocins on the brain stimulation with the effect of music, with the U sequence, which will really bring this impact. And this will have an impact in order to decrease pain and anxiety. So here you can see examples of music players, and we see, guys, that you are all coming from all over the world, and I guess everyone has some specific music preference but it's very important for us to compose with one of the best music players in the world, like Tony Allen, which is a famous jazz player, David Bismuth from the National Orchestra of Paris, or Vin Gordon, trombonist of Bob Marley. And in some countries, we have even composed with local musicians in order to fit to cultural needs. So it's really to have a very personalized approach and with music as a therapy. So you have seen Stefan, who is with us today, and Stefan is a really leading music care and has been working for more than 20 years to demonstrate the impact of music in the treatment of pain and anxiety, with a lot of different trophies. And basically, it's really about understanding what is pain. And pain, it's defined as an unpleasant sensory and emotional experience associated with actual or potential tissue damage. And basically, pain is mostly treated with a pharmacological approach, which is fine. And in order to optimize the effect of the drugs, we have created some association, as Stefan was mentioned, with big pharma companies or med tech companies or insurance providers, in order to optimize the journey of the patients and combine our efforts to improve their patient journeys. And music care really will focus on the emotional aspect of the pain, with the production of dopamine, endorphin, and oxytocin. Now, you may ask yourself, what is the evidence? What are the proof of our efficacy? So we have been conducted some clinical trials and scientific publications in oncology departments, which has shown that we can reduce pain and anxiety up to 74%. And we see in the study that the effect of the therapy even works 30 minutes after the music session. And the music session generally lasts, it can last between 20 minutes up to 90 minutes, depending on the procedure which will be performed in the hospital or the healthcare institution. Also, this has been a strong clinical study, randomized, with which has been published in the Clinical Journal of Pain, and it showed that music care can reduce up to 52% chronic pain by doing like 2 sessions per day for 2 months. And we see really in the graph that you can show that there is a group which has been without music, and the music care group in terms of pain treatment, and the impact is really significant in terms of reduction. This is a more recent study which has been published in the JAMA scientific journal, and it has been recently published in 2021 for cataract surgery. And cataract surgery is performed with no general anesthesia, so it's just a local anesthesia, and it is a moment where there is a lot of anxiety of the patient, and the patient can move, or it can have hypertension. These were the parameters that we have assessed, and the findings showed that we have curbed by 75% the number of complications during the surgical intervention. So this is really evidence which show that we have had a positive impact in the patient journeys during the surgery, but also after the surgery. Because after the surgery, there is less complication, there is there is better recovery, and this is a very strong and important study that we've done with some hospitals. So this is a study more in intensive care units with in anesthesia, which showed that we have a significant impact, which in the vital parameters. So you remember on the U sequence, and here you can see that in terms of heartbeat or blood pressure, there is this U sequence that we can see with the music care group compared to the control group, which show that patients are really more relaxed, and this is easier for healthcare professionals to work. So now we have built strong partnership with international companies, pharma companies, with healthcare providers, even with the Football Federation, in order to propose music care in sleep disorder, to help to tackle sleep disorders of people when they are training for football games. So we would like, we are really focusing on preventive and also curative medicine, of course we are also, as Stefan mentioned, performing lots of studies in terms of research of development, since it's very important to demonstrate the efficacy of music care in specific interventions. It's in our DNA. Now, we would like actually basically to improve the path of patients in hospitals, or even at home. Music care can be used at home as well. And the idea is really to try to understand what are the key moments where we can work on, and what are the problems of the patients. So in order to start partnerships where we basically install music care, we train also people, and we are very happy that also Clean Group has this training DNA with you, because it's very important to educate healthcare professionals and also patients, as you mentioned, about the benefits of music therapy. Basically, it's all about a pathway which can be used. This was an example for cancer, but we can use this music care approach in a lot of different pathways. It can be migraine, it can be maternity, it can be lots of different indications, even for children, very, very young children, which were born with a prematurity, can have also very, very good reactions of music therapy, like when it is proposed to them. And this is another model that we have, where doctors can also prescribe music care to their patients, and patients can also bring it back to their homes when they, in order to maintain the benefits of, let's say, this musical treatment, because our reason to be is really to improve their daily lives of patients. So how do we address patient centricity? In a nutshell, we can do a lot of different projects. We can work on R&D projects with patient association, focus on improving patient pathway with either big pharma or medtech actors. We can also be part of this patient support program that you've shared before, Ahmad, and other speakers also, in order to optimize treatments. And of course, we can have a specific focus on some disease or some healthcare issues like sleep disorders. And finally, we have also a medical prescription model in order to help to democratize music care for the patient. So basically, why partnering together? You know, there is this beyond the pill approach that also Ahmad shared previously. We know that the competition is tough between hospitals, between pharma companies, between actors, and there is need for innovation. There is also new expectation of healthcare professionals. I think the COVID period just put a strong emphasis of new approach, like sophrology, hypnosis, and they have a role to play in the medicine today in order to have a more holistic approach. And basically, it's just about improving patient journeys of people every day. So, thank you very much for your attention, and I would be very happy to answer with Stefan to all your questions.
Thank you so much, Martin. Thank you, Stefan, for the presentation. So now we're going to address the questions sent by our audience. Allow me then to check some questions. And I think we need to start with Liliane, if you don't mind.
Sure, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. So we have a question for the home nursing, stating that there are many studies where the PIs of the sites do not recommend their patients for the mobile nursing service, maybe due to inattention. The question is, how can the patient be aware about such service, and who can be the responsible for such role?
So yeah, we see that a lot come through. So our goal is to work very closely with the sponsors, to work with the sites, to educate the site. And our goal is to educate the sites as well, how that benefits them. We want to educate sites as soon as they are activated to ensure that they understand that it is not a burden for them to use home health services. Majority of activities are managed by pharma, by the home child providers. We work with specialty couriers. We work with pharmacies to align all those logistics. So educating the sites, the PIs, to ensure they again understand it's not an addition to their work, an additional paperwork, an additional follow-up. It's managed mostly through the home health services, and then also giving an opportunity to the patients to have options, and understanding the PI need to understand that the patients have options, and most likely they will stay in the study, most likely they will participate. They don't have to go for a simple PK draw, 2-hour bus route back and forth, etc. So just educating the sites, the PIs, to ensure that they're comfortable and give the opportunities to the patients to have options. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Liliane. I also have another question for you. So what topics do you present to the investigational team at initiation visit of home nurse services for more site acceptation?
So we typically will walk them through the process of how home health services work and how our services are ordered. So everything logistically, we will have an outline and have them address any questions they have. So we prefer to be part of the SIV, or as soon as, again, the sites are activated, to have the opportunity to respond to their initial questions before they decide that they are not interested in our services. We also are a great source for regulatory questions. We work in many countries, and we see those type of questions come across for many studies. Therefore, we already have a good understanding of how to answer those questions. So we want to make sure the sites understand that there is other benefits to us helping them get those home health services approved.
Thank you so much, Eliane. So this is it for the home nursing service. We have selected those 2 questions, and we will move with pharmacovigilance. Alex, with you, I have two questions. First one, how do you see the pharmacovigilance automation in processes in the next 5 years, and how it will affect the industry? Interesting question for you, Alex.
It's an interesting question. I don't know how much related to the PSPs. I think it was very clear also in the Hamad presentation that automation is not maybe the best thing for PSP because you need to be very customized to each patient, each drug. So in terms of patient support programs, I think we are still far away from automation in terms of pharmacovigilance. If the question is more broad question about how pharmacovigilance is improved, is enhanced by automation and artificial intelligence, I would say that, yeah, machines are helping a lot to improve efficiencies, to improve compliance using validated systems. Actually, the basic of pharmacovigilance is to have all the information well entered in a database, in a validated system with clear processes. So automation, for example, it can help us a lot with translation. We all use Google Translation, right, to translate things. So this is just a way of automation, simplify or kind of translate that maybe need to be QC or reviewed by human beings at this stage to ensure that the information is properly translated. Because in this case, we are talking about safety information, about patient safety. So it's not like a mistake is a law. We are working in pharmacovigilance with KPIs of compliance about 99%. So maybe machines still behind in some of the activities related to pharmacovigilance. But very interesting question.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you. And I have also another question. So how do you see pharmacovigilance practice in new technology drugs as gene therapy and stem cells? And what challenges are expected?
So in regards of the type of treatment, so when we are talking about pharmacovigilance, we are talking about medicinal products. There are different regulations related to medical devices, even to cosmetovigilance and other type of products. So in terms of even food supplements, so in every case, I think I see that all regulations are following what is being the main market, which is drugs. I mean, drugs has been driven, all pharmacovigilance requirements at the local level from national health authorities, releasing guidelines to ensure patient safety. But in regards to other therapeutic areas or even other type of medicines or treatments, not just medicinal products, like medical devices, for example, they're still behind what we have established and in place, or we can even the example of vigilance in vets, like veterinarian pharmacovigilance. So there are always specific regulations around that, but at the end of the day, it's just a matter of time that we will fully align in terms of requirements.
Thank you so much, Alex. So now for music therapy team. So there is an interesting question also. Is it true that your heartbeat will change and try to imitate the music you are listening to?
Yes, we have, that was one of the first study we published. It was in ICU, and all the patients who was playing the music in the headphones, we can monitor the heartbeat, the cardiac frequencies and arterial pressure, and we can see a correlation between all those vital signs and the rhythm of the music. So there is a correlation we shown in our study, and that was also confirmed by the international scientific review. So yes, there is a synchronization with the rhythm of the music. If you listen to very high tempo music, your heartbeat will be higher than if you listen to very, very calm music. Your breath is going to synchronize with your music, and when you breathe more slowly, your heartbeat will reduce also.
Yeah, and there was also another question, which I think, and I assess that I think that patients will adhere or comply more to the treatment whenever they are binded to music. What do you think about that?
When they are?
There will be more adherence and compliance to the treatment when there is the music factor.
Yes, yes, there is a lot factor. You want to answer, Marta, maybe?
Yeah, actually, we have seen from our experience that it's very important that the patient can choose his music, and that the music would be in adequation with his taste. Because if he chooses a music that he doesn't like, it won't be efficient. So that's why when we train the people using music care, there is a specific way to propose them the music and to ensure that once they listen just 15, 20 seconds, they like it. And if they don't like it, it's better to change. So this is very important factor.
Yes.
Does it answer to your question, Jessie? Yeah?
Yes, thank
Yes.
you.
This
And
is the
the
most important factor, yes.
Yeah. And the last question, please, for you is, do you think the pain medications can be replaced by the music, or it must be jointly? And what type of pain can be used for migraine, rheumato, and oncology patients?
Yes, we have a lot of studies in different indication of pain. So we have chronic pain, acute pain. We just published in migraine, headache, and we also have publication in low back pain. So in general, we have a lot of studies in chronic pain, so that can help a lot of people. You know, it's like physical activity. It's very important in all the stage, in all the context, medical context. So music is also a mental treatment, mental health treatment. So it can be used in a lot of indication, very large. And what is the first part of your question? I think I forgot.
It was about.
Do you think the pain medications can be replaced by the music, or it should be jointly?
Yes, it jointly, but we can observe in the research that few patients can stop treatment like first step of the painkiller, but when the patient have a very high pain, he cannot stop the pain treatment. And yes, we use in association to optimize the effect of the medication. Yes, but we can see in the result of our research that a lot of patients reduce the medication also, but not in all the patients. So it will be a part of the patient.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And now I would like to address a question to Ahmad. First, thank you for the slides, for the informative slides, really reflecting your 25 years of expertise in patient support program. And I have a question. How do you measure patient support program success?
Okay, thank you. So this takes us back to the first thing, revisit step one, the building. What was the outcomes planned? What was the thing? Why you did the PSP from the beginning? So the first step should be visited, and from that should have a forecast into the future at a certain time. Let's say you visit, let's say you assess on a quarterly basis, or let's say biannually, you should have those set in the beginning revisited. So if there is a divert or you're still on the track, how far, how much you reached of your initial targets over time. So this should be a good measuring. And even if there is changes along the way for the better, but we say we should have some kind of elasticity to incorporate new elements that work for the benefit of the patient, the healthcare professional, or the whole circle of care. So even though those elements are incorporated, they should have been set with a measure from the beginning. And this should be a good way of measuring where are you. So the tolerance for the deviation shouldn't be within the frame, I would say 5 to 10% at most, or else they're along with the 2% you start here, 1 year later, it's like going into trajectory, and the angle would be more and more, and you will reach with time into more deviation from the original target. So you should always have the mechanism to look very thoroughly where are you from your initial targets and visit them with your stakeholders. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the answer. And now we are ready to close the session. If you don't have any other comment or intervention, dear panelists, would you like to add something?
I would like to, if you allow me, I would like to thank each and every one of our guests. This is a very important, and I hope it will come into the future that we'll have many topics in series for the benefit of the communities. And the comment that I want to say that the title and the content, the mix is harmonized in a way, and the flow, it was beautiful. So thank you very much for your efforts, for your time, and I'm happy to be part of this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, and thank you to all our attendees. Our session will follow with the certificate of attendance to all the attendees, and definitely certificate of appreciation to you, our panelists. So thank you, and bye-bye. Have a good night.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.